Okay. I will call this meeting to order. First off, I'd like to start by marking the passing of Jan Torres. It was an unfortunate, very unexpected situation, and she leaves a huge hole in our board. She served for, I believe, at least 3 terms and was on her 4th term. So her institutional knowledge of Women's Council and her ability to help out on so many different situations is going to be greatly missed. And I'm going to miss her as a friend and a mentor as well. Over the next few weeks, we will ask the governor to declare her board position open. And we will also need to fill the position of treasurer and also the entrepreneur task force chair. So if anyone is interested, please reach out to me. Otherwise, I'll kind of probably be hunting some of you down to ask for that. I hope you had a chance to read her obituary. It talks about her lengthy service to our community and to the state of Wyoming. She was pretty amazing. Natalia?
I had a question/idea, and I didn't get the chance to run this by Ty in advance to see if he had thoughts on it, but I'm wondering if we might ponder naming our entrepreneur award after her.
I think that given her passion for that award and how much effort and time she put into it, I would certainly be open to that. If Ty,
I don't know that if there are rules around any of the stuff we have for naming, given that it's our award that exists as we exist. I feel like we could probably do what we want, but that thought occurred to me listening to you talk.
Madam Chair, I'm not entirely sure of the exact answer on that, but I will research that in the bylaws and report back to you.
all right, thank you. Anyone else have anything more to add on any topic related to Jan? All right, thank you. Moving on to old business, we have the approval of the September 10th, 2022 minutes. Is there a motion on the floor?
Move to approve.
Is there a second?
Marianne.
All right, we have a motion from Natalia and a second from Marianne to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion? All right, seeing none, all those in favor of approving the minutes as written, please signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? All right, the minutes pass. All right, I think you will notice that we have a new face among us. The governor found us an appointment for Judicial District 8. So please welcome Roxy Sharp. She is not official because she has her oath to fill out and return to the governor's office, but she is joining us for the first time tonight. And so Roxy, would you like to, I haven't even had a chance to touch base with you yet or have a conversation. So if you would like to share anything with us about yourself, your background, your interest in Women's Council, we would love to learn more about you.
I'm Roxy Sharp. I live north of Lusk, 30 miles on a ranch. I'm by far
I think we lost Roxy, or is it just me?
No, we lost her.
Okay.
She did say 30 miles north of Lusk.
I got 30 miles north of Lusk, and that was it.
That checks out that we might lose her.
Well,
she's still on. But maybe having connectivity issues, so she may pop back in here for us.
all right, we'll put Roxy on pause and come back to her, hopefully, if the connectivity issue gets fixed. All right, so treasurer's report. Ty is going to take that on for us and kind of tell us where we are financially.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm gonna move over to that and share my screen if possible. So here's our treasurer's report, showing that out of the budget of $55,910, of which you have all of that this year, we have spent $5,876.55. That's the most current reckoning by our fiscal department. I think there are some things like the September 10th travel, I believe still has to come out of that, but it's nowhere near that $55,000. So I think all told, that's probably around $1,000, maybe $1,500 for the travel to the Riverton meeting and Who She Is premiere. So,
Okay.
Probably 48,500 or so left to spend.
Okay.
Any questions?
And keep in mind, this is our biennial budget, so this has to last us through the end of or the end of June 2024. So,
Madam
So kinda-
Chair, I believe
Oh,
2022.
so
Ty, is
yeah, it
that
says.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think the legislature decided to give us an extra 55,000, so I'm pretty sure that has to be spent by the end of 2024 or June 2024.
Madam Chair, I will double check that with fiscal and make sure that they get that corrected.
Okay. Hey, if anyone's got that extra money to give us, we will take it. But just to make sure we've got the right amount. All right. Any other questions for Ty on that?
Can
All
I,
right.
Madam Chair? Oh, sorry.
Yes, Kristen.
I can't figure out how to raise my hand in the cool way Natalia did. Can you and Ty, the $3,500 we've spent on professional fees, can you remind us what that is?
Madam Chair, if I can answer that,
Please.
about 3,000 of that was Prosper Public Relations for the social media. 3 months of social media posts, public relations, and then the other $1,500 of that was the graphics and graphic design by Not Yard Creative to do the rack cards as well. And then I think the actual printing of those rack cards is not reflected in this. I think that'll be in a different line. But that was, I think, $175 for 500 rack cards to be printed. I'm not entirely sure right now what the $254 extra dollars for the professional fees is, but I will find an answer to that.
Thank you, Ty. Leave it to me to wonder what the expenses were for 3 things that I led and advocated for. So,
Yeah, well, it's awkward because that's just the fiscal team language, but it's anything that we had to do a professional services contract for.
got it. Thank you.
Thank you. So Ty, the $292 for office supplies and printing, that does not include the rack cards, or it does?
I do not have a detailed budget. It might, and again, I can take a look. That was a while ago I was trying to remember if we had that in the last budget that we looked at. I was thinking that it was left over from that, but I think now that you mention it, I think that number was lower on the September budget, and I can, as soon as I stop sharing my screen, I can jump back into that and double check it.
Okay, thank you. Other questions for Ty? All right, thank you. Roxy, we lost you. Welcome back. We heard that you live, we heard you live 30 miles north of Lusk. If you want to pick up from there.
Oh, okay. I don't know where I went from there. Anyway, I run a hunting lodge, and we keep 35 to 45 hunters up to 50 hunters in the fall. Just finished with the first round of that, have more coming in tomorrow. And I also do property management. We have rentals, and I do that, and I have my husband. We have 3 kids, and that's about as exciting as it gets.
Thank you and welcome.
Thank
And
you.
I'll touch base with you
I
later
apologize.
about
Okay,
visiting about more stuff.
Okay. Our internet goes in and out because we're on satellite and it's not nice out tonight. So anyway, thank
All
you.
right, thank you. All right, moving on to committee reports. Kristen, you want to start out with PR?
Yes, Madam Chair. Am I supposed to talk about social media stuff? Yes. So I'm really bringing my A game tonight. I don't know if you all followed. We had Haley McKee with Prosper PR doing social media for us over the last few months. Jennifer has done a tremendous job of keeping up the Facebook page. And I have had very spotty track record of keeping up the Facebook page. And so we were able to get a great deal out of Haley, who a lot of us know because we worked with her through Workforce Services. She was our liaison. And now she's out on her own doing PR services. And to say she went above and beyond for us, I think would be an understatement. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, the content is great. She's coupled that with the graphics that we had Not Yard Creative do, as Ty mentioned, we have custom graphics now for the course of the next year, right? For every major holiday. Happy Mother's Day from the WCW, and Christmas and Thanksgiving and Veterans Day and Education Day and all those things. So Haley's done a tremendous job. And I think one of the things we want to talk about, and maybe that's under the budget discussion, is potentially continuing that on and what that looks like in terms of having to get bids or not bids. And Ty can hit on that. But I don't know if you guys had a chance to follow our Facebook content, but it was really good. It was really engaging. And I think it's a good use of our money if we want to continue to have PR and outreach be a priority for us. Rather than that, the PR committee has done absolutely nothing thanks to its lackluster chair.
The chair is very lustrous, I think so. And we got rack cards printed, and Ty got that done for us. And so the rack cards are probably sitting in his office at Workforce Services. And so hopefully over the next, we'll get them kind of disseminated a little bit so that when we go to different activities, we can have them displayed and we can share them out at like Who She Is screenings. We can maybe get some to the Wyoming Women's History House to have there for when they have their next event. But we do have some pretty lovely rack cards waiting for us to get used.
Wonderful.
So, any questions for Kristen? We will come back around to the ongoing social media support under new business. So, all right. Outreach. I have talked to a few people for different things kind of here and there. Touched back with the Wyoming Women's Business Center on the Entrepreneur Award. They were interested in perhaps sponsoring it. And so we kind of talked that over a little bit, but the Entrepreneur committee is kind of quiet this time of year, so it was something that was going to come up probably around January, February, but still something definitely in the mix. And we're talking, Becca from Wyoming Women's Foundation will be talking to us tonight, and I've talked to her a little bit, and also Katie Hogarty from Climb Wyoming. So I've been making some different kind of connections on some different things. I think everyone's just trying to figure out this new normal of busy, and everyone has lots on their plates. So just kind of touching base as we need to. So that's what I have for outreach. So any questions from anyone on that? All right, so Natalie, policy and governmental advisory, you can probably
Great.
put them together in one. So however you want to do
That
it.
is actually my first proposal, is that I think those committees could just be one, particularly given what we would do. And I think our next step, and I will happily initiate for us to get together, is to think about how we want to use any goals we have for the upcoming legislative session of things that we want to particularly target. Obviously, we'll have a meeting. Some of us may be at legislative things for other reasons where we can also promote the Women's Council or help educate around it. So I think that's kind of, given the work that's happening in the other two committees, I feel like that would be a good use of that brain power, is what would we want to get out of this session or educate our 27 new legislators on? And we can come up with some action plans. And if we think we need money, I'm not sure that we do. But if we did, just what that is and how we want to introduce ourselves.
Okay. I think it would make sense if that, with the overlap in what policy and governmental advisory does, and with the how stretched thin everyone is, it would make sense to combine the two so that you can kind of work on those ideas together. So kind of just need to
And I
have a
will
meeting.
say, yeah, I think we need to have a meeting and something while we just have the full group together. One of the people who had, well, two of the people that had been our, had certainly been champions of the Women's Council and friends of the Women's Council that were in the legislature, retired from the legislature this year. And so I think we're going to be looking for who our new friends are, and cultivating some of those relationships so that when we get to budget year, we're not starting from scratch. But we can think about that at the committee level. But I'm just putting that to the larger group as everyone is maybe looking at who is in the legislature, or if we see someone or have an interaction that identifies a potential champion for us, that we cultivate that.
Okay. Any questions for Natalia? Okay, so seeing none, Kristen, we are back to you with the Woman of Distinction update.
Hello. So I sent around very last minute, kind of a punch list of the Woman of Distinction Award. As you all know, we decided to award it to Rosie Berger, and she will be getting the award. We have been talking to the Leap into Leadership group, which is an event hosted by the Wyoming Women's Legislative Caucus, which Rosie founded. And as many of you know, they have an annual event in Cheyenne held during the legislature. Thank you, Ty. They have the annual Leap into Leadership event held in Cheyenne. It's going to be this year, February 22nd, in Cheyenne at Little America. And we thought it would be a great place for Rosie to be presented the award at the event she founded. Usually has a great turnout. They have an evening legislative event following the day's Leap into Leadership workshop. So I think presenting it there is appropriate for the recipient, Rosie, because she founded this, and also a really good opportunity for the Women's Caucus to be there and be in front of a bunch of legislators and a bunch of people in Cheyenne. So the board of the Wyoming Women's Legislative Council has agreed to let us present the award there. As I said, it's going to be February 22nd. I assume we can get to this a little later, but I think it would be appropriate for as many board members to be there as possible. If there's a nexus with doing anything else while the legislature is in session, I think that's also an important discussion. I think ideally Governor Gordon will hand out the award, but we need to get with his office, and I'm happy to do that and see if we can get it on his schedule. He's usually bouncing in and out of Little America those nights during the legislature anyways. And then in terms of the press, the goal would be to issue a press release next week. Once again, the PR chair needs a date to be held firm to, and I will get that ready to send out on Monday. But I think if we issue a statewide release now, right after an election is a great time to do press next week. It'll be quiet, but we can beat before the holidays. We can do a statewide release, and hopefully they'll pick it up in the Sheridan Press and maybe Wyoming Tribune Eagle, and we can push for the Casper Star. And then we can couple that with some corresponding social media. Then in February, we can also issue a press release right after the event, hopefully with a photo, and also do some social media and potentially take out an ad in Rosie's local paper so she can get some recognition at home, since the actual event will be in Cheyenne. Jennifer, do you want me to keep going and talk about costs, even though we can vote on it later?
Let's come back to the cost. They have the round idea, and then we'll talk about the cost when we get to the actual voting on it.
Perfect. So that's it. So we're moving forward with the 2023 award. I think when we issue the press release, we should mention the honorable mentions of the other nominees, including one of the wonderful nominees whose name escapes me, but who passed away recently. So that's it. Any questions about the Woman of Distinction Award?
All right. We'll come back to the voting on the expenditure under new business. All right, Ty, can you update us on the Safety and Workforce Summit?
Certainly, Madam Chair. We have moved the Safety and Workforce Summit. It was going to be in October, but for a number of reasons, that was problematic timing. We moved it to April. I believe it's April 18th and 19th. The main summit will be on the 19th. We'd still love to have the panel with the Women's Council award winners from previous years on the morning of the 19th. That's a Wednesday. Director Cooley will still be the MC for that, and kind of have them tell their stories, their challenges, their successes that they had in their careers. And the rest of the summit, the day before, the Tuesday before, we're planning to have some workshops to allow businesses, both on the safety side and the workforce side, to get a little more information about, if it's the safety side, it might be some trainings that OSHA does, help folks get those certifications done. And then on the workforce side, maybe some workshops on, we're actually thinking about having one on like how to use social media to promote business, and some other ideas. We're still kind of in the planning phases of that. The Wednesday, the actual summit, that will be, kick it off with the Women's Council, talking about those with that panel, and then move into some breakout sessions. We were toying with the idea of bringing back awards, but in a little different manner than they were done in the past. And then a really dynamic keynote speaker, and possibly the awards could be, and I still need to talk to Kari about this, but there's a possibility of having the awards either during a dinner or at lunch that day, just to make a full day of it. Obviously costs are an issue with that. And we're still kind of thinking of having a welcome reception the Tuesday night, right before the kickoff of the main summit. But we definitely want to have a big platform for the Women's Council, so that we can get the message out about the Women's Council, feature you guys as much as we can, get as much press for you as we possibly can, get some folks, let folks know what you do, and how to get involved, and just to be there. So, and any and all of you are welcome to attend the full summit. You don't have to just come for just the panel. So we'd love to have you there and to be able to mix and mingle with all the folks who come to the summit and get the word out.
Thank you, Ty. And it just occurred to me that if we set the due date for the Entrepreneur Award applications for this next year at, say, May 1st, it could maybe be mentioned and maybe we could get some nominations from the summit. Any questions for Ty? All right. Thank you, Ty. So the Who She Is screenings, I have it linked in the agenda for you to be able to see where it's going next. Let's see, Joanne, have we received information on the summit? So Workforce Summit from Ty?
Yes. Yep.
He's talked to us about it before, but as far as like any written information?
The dates and the agenda and that kind of thing.
The dates, he said April 18th and 19th, but I think it sounds like they're still kind of working on the agenda.
Okay, great.
Is that true, Ty?
Yeah, that is. And Madam Chair, as we get more information about the summit, including the agenda and the full details of what the sessions are and everything, that will be on our website at dws.yo.gov. And we'll add more information to that. I would give you the direct link to that. I can't recall the exact direct link right now. I think it's dws.yo.gov/summit, and that takes you to the summit page where all that information will be. And we will be getting information directly to you folks as well as we, check the agenda and find the exact topics, get the speakers nailed down and everything. Just so that you're aware of what's going on. You're on our mailing list, which you can opt out of if you want to.
Thanks, Ty. Any other questions then on the summit? Okay. So the Who She Is screenings, Ty, could you click on that link and pull that up? I know that there are, I think, 3 maybe left screenings. One is in Rock Springs. And then I think there's a couple more, and one of them might be virtual, but that may have happened. And I cannot remember for the life
virtual
of me.
one happened.
Okay, thank you.
And there is one coming up also in Jackson. And I bring that up because I think as we have new rat cards and things, I would love to get some of those. So maybe Ty, I'll email you with my address. Because they changed the date kindly so that I could attend to represent the Women's Council, and will be part of speaking, and we'll be happy to talk about Women's Council at that as well.
Thank you, Natalia. That'd be great if you could get some of those out there. Katie.
I just wanted to talk really quick about the one that happened in Cheyenne. I kind of wasn't sure if I was going to be able to attend that one, and I was able to get back in town early enough to attend, and it was amazing. It was super wonderful. During it, one of the producer or director gentlemen awarded gifted the governor with the dress, the handmade dress that the woman wore while she was dancing, the footage of the woman dancing in the fields. He presented the governor with the dress, and the dress was made by a family member of his. And then another family member of his was the one dancing in it. And it was just like so beautiful. And the governor accepting it and like going on stage and being very touched was just really sweet. So I wanted to share that. And they had wonderful shout outs to us that was very appreciated, but it was really lovely. That's all.
Thank you.
Share. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing that. That's wonderful to hear. I know that speaking for myself, seeing it in Riverton, had some great conversations with Sophie, and it was just very nice to see the family members of the women who were featured in the documentary brought up on stage and acknowledged, and they just did a very nice job. And if you haven't had a chance to see it, absolutely do so. I think, and Natalia can speak to this a little bit better, but eventually it will be online, won't it?
I think that Wyoming PBS is going to do something with it. I know they are waiting kind of for the screening rollouts and the pieces there. But I'll find out and confirm that, and or check on ways to make sure that at least everyone on the council gets to see it.
Thank you. Yeah, that would be amazing if you have a chance to see it, because it was very well done. So any other comments or questions on who she is? All right. Sip and Savor, those are the events that the Wyoming Women's History House has been working on. And we did help fund those, and they worked to put together some videos that Ty is showing you. They are available on YouTube, so you can watch them, and they're going to continue to work on them. Mary Mountain retired from the Laramie Plains Museum, and so now she has more time to be working on this project, and so they're going to be having some more activities going forward. I do need to check in with her and see if she has any dates for any coming up soon, but they are trying to make it accessible for everyone by doing some of the videos, and stretching out to YouTube was a real big stretch for her. So I think that she's pretty happy to have this available now to share with everyone. So other comments or questions on Sip and Savor? All right, thank you. Then I just want to mention that we do now have 2 open board positions. I've been in touch with Gabby Farmer at the governor's office, and I asked that they wait a couple of weeks to give Jan a chance to rest in peace before we just say, hey, by the way, we're replacing her. So in a couple of weeks, I'll ask that they put that on the website as being an open board position. It is unique in that both of our board members who left from those districts were Democrats. And by our state statute, we have to have a balance. And so no more than 9 board members can be from the Republican Party. And since both of our 2 members who left those positions were registered Democrats, we have to replace them with Democrats. So that's according to the state statute. So we'll be looking for someone. I've reached out to quite a few people in the Laramie area, and I haven't really had a lot of feedback on that. But if anyone knows anyone in Laramie, Carbon County, and then Judicial District 3 was Jan's position, and that is Uinta, Sweetwater, and where's Kemmer? I can't think of it. Thank you, Lincoln.
I will help scout for people with that party affiliation.
I have somebody in Laramie that I'm trying to talk to about it, who I'm fairly confident is a Democrat, and she just got a new job and just announced that she was pregnant. So that may be a slight deterrent, but I'm trying to bring her on and see if she would at least consider it and maybe put in an application. So I'm working in Laramie too.
Sounds good. So if any of you know anyone who would meet the qualifications, please do share the link on the governor's website for the application there. As of when the last time I talked to Gabby, there still has not been an application in Laramie. So we will definitely need to kind of beat the bushes to find some people for those positions. Any questions on that? Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we are to new business, and we have a couple of different things that we will need to go here for talking about funding. And I kind of moved the woman of distinction down here so that we're talking about funding all in one kind of chunk. So we have 3 different funding requests. One is coming from the PR committee with Kristen and myself, saying basically we would like to continue to hire Haley to do social media posts for us. Then Becca Hazelton will be joining us to talk about request for some funding for the wage gap study. And then we need to approve the budget for the Woman of Distinction Award, Leap into Leadership. So what would be your preference, to talk about them and vote on them individually so that we're doing, or do we want to talk about them all as a whole and then vote individually?
I was just gonna say, maybe we could let Becca talk about her request since she's with us, and then she'll be able to be released from listening in. But I'm happy to talk about everything and then do one budget vote.
Okay, sounds good. Ty, could you admit Becca, please?
Absolutely, Madam Chair. I've just invited her to be a panelist.
Thank you. Hi, Becca.
Hi, nice to see you.
Good to see you too. All right. For those of you who are not familiar with Becca, she is the executive director of the Wyoming Women's Foundation, which is part of the Wyoming Community Foundation. We have worked with the Wyoming Women's Foundation on several previous projects, and so continue to want to build our relationship with them. And I will go ahead and turn over the floor to Becca, and she can talk about the wage gap study.
Cool, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, I would say first off that we've really valued the partnership with the Wyoming Council for Women. So thanks you all for the support for different research projects that we've done over the years. So you may know that over the years, we have kind of supported Kathy Connolly in her research of the gender wage gap. So she's typically been the researcher, and we've provided some funding, and we've helped get give a platform to get the information out there. And as I think was mentioned earlier in the meeting, she is retiring. She's retiring from the University of Wyoming. She's currently in the Gender and Women's Studies department. So that's how she's doing the research, is in her role as a professor as opposed to the legislator, but obviously fit nicely with a lot of her legislative priorities as well. So she's retiring from the legislature and from the University of Wyoming, and in fact, leaving the state. So she will not be doing that research anymore. And so we were kind of fortunate to catch her in her last semester to hand off the project to some new researchers. So we have been working with Ann Alexander, who is previously in the economics department. She's kind of taking a little hiatus from that now, but she'll be rejoining the economics department shortly. And then Kyan Jones-Ritten, who is in the Ag Econ department. And so Anne has been kind of doing the narrative piece of it, and then Kyan is doing a lot of the analysis. And then the Wyoming Survey and Analysis Center will be doing all of the figures, and they have helped out with just gathering the data. And so this is in progress right now. We started it over the summer, or maybe back in June, and are partnering with the Equality State Policy Center so far to fund it. So Women's Foundation and ESBC are kind of covering the cost of the actual report itself. And that is slated to come out in the next few weeks here. And so the funding request that we've put to you all, when I found you were interested in being a part of it, which we would love to put your name on it as well, is to help us with the marketing piece of it and getting the information out there. And so my request revolves around doing some printing so that we can get printed reports out to the legislators and some of the local decision makers like county commissions, and also to cover some of the mailing costs that we might incur with some of that, which isn't huge. We'll pass it out in person as much as possible. And then some materials, some mailing materials just to raise awareness about it. And you could provide us with an additional mailing list in addition to the list that we have and that the Equality State Policy Center has, to kind of just, you know, another venue to alert people, another way to alert people that it's happening, that's being updated. And then probably some other kind of promotional item type things to generate interest in it. And then perhaps some advertising as well. So those are sort of, you know, and it sounds like you all are pretty interested in raising awareness in general about your existence and the type of work that we both are doing. And so it seems like a really good fit. And I hope that that's the case. We've asked for 5,000 and we can adjust that if you don't have that much, but that would give us a really great amount to, you know, do it justice, because of course, if you have a report and it just sits there and no one sees it, that's not really worthwhile. So I think it's going to be great. I've seen a draft of it and there's some kind of new discussion in it that we haven't had before. So I'm really excited for it to come out and to start sharing it around the state. And as a side note, the Women's Foundation is also planning on doing some focus groups around the wage gap, talking about messaging. And so that's coming up in the future as well to help us know the best way to use our resources to get this information out there and to use the right message to reach the right people. So that's kind of a summary. I'll take any questions that you may have and then I'll hop up.
Becca, I know that like right prior to COVID, when you did the cost of living, what I can't think of
The
it.
self-sufficiency standard, yeah.
There we go. Thank you. You did a kickoff in the Capitol with that. Are you planning an event around this during the legislative session?
So we were tentatively hoping to be able to start talking about it to people at the governor's business forum, but it doesn't seem like it's going to be quite ready next week. And so, yeah, I think we could look at doing that instead as a kickoff. It's a little bit tricky, of course, with the holidays coming up. We don't want to get mixed in with that, but also would like to certainly before then do a bit of maybe a softer release, because we want people to be able to read it before they're too busy in the session to read it. So I'd be totally open to doing an event during the session and maybe even, you know, combining with Leap into Leadership or something. And we could talk about doing that once it's ready.
Thank you. Natalia.
Thank you. I just wanted to provide a little bit of additional context. As soon as I found out about the update that was happening, I invited Becca to make this proposal, since the council has supported it in the past, and Workforce Services has also worked on a report in the same space. And speaking to my comments earlier about the education that we will want to do with the legislature and having that, this will be a great item and tool that can proactively tell our story and fits directly with our mission. I would also be excited about doing something at the legislature and or thinking about ways that we could, I know the Equality State Policy Center does various panels and convenings that part of the work that we need to do around this is just educating on what the ideas are and keeping the conversation, keeping the conversation in the narrative, because it has definitely dropped off in the last few years and been taken over by COVID. I'll stop talking because my dog is barking.
Thank you, Natalia. Kristen.
Just want to say hi, Becca. Thank you so much. It's really helpful. I know that this is important work that the council has supported before, and I was really glad to hear you talk about spending some time and resources to think about how you message this issue. Obviously, it's a big one in the state of Wyoming, but we have, we can preach to the choir all day, every day. But I think it's important to spend some time thinking about how you make this message sync with, say, white men who are in positions of power in the state. So I think that's a wise use of your time and resources.
Thanks.
No offense, Ty. I'm so sorry.
Thank you, Kristen. Other questions or comments for Becca? All right.
Well, thanks for having
Seeing-
me join, and I will definitely hop off and let me know what you all want to do.
All right. Thank you, Becca.
All right, thanks so much. Bye.
Bye. All right. So we do have a $5,000 request there. Let's go ahead and take a look at the ongoing social media support bid. And that was in the document folder, and we navigated back and forth on bids and contracts and all of the legalese and terminology from workforce services and fiscal and the AG's office. So we have this bid from Haley, and it was decided we didn't need to get further bids. And so if you take a look at it, it goes through the project summary and what she would be doing for us for $1,000 a month. Kristen, do you have anything you want to add to this? I caught her off guard.
Oh, no, you're fine. Sorry, I didn't know if you were done. No, I think you summed it up well. As I said before, I really feel like we're in a unique situation where we have the exact right person to do this because she is familiar with the council. She is a social media person. We've, teed this up nicely with having the graphics done. The Facebook page is the one kind of consistent communication we're getting out the door. She sends a schedule every single week of content for myself, Jennifer, or Ty to approve, whoever gets to it first. Is very open to the ideas we take. And as someone who has done this kind of work before, getting someone to do consistent posts several times a week for $1,000 a month of the caliber Haley's doing, I think is a real good deal. And I just think it's something. It is a lot of money. I don't, obviously if we committed for a year, that's $12,000. But I think it's worth its weight in gold in terms of making sure we've got consistent messaging going out the door. So I'm a big fan of this and we'll be voting yes. I don't know. I guess I'm not supposed to.
Is this, this is for like copy any design that has to happen and a post, or it's just copy in the posting and we're using the stuff she's already designed?
It's both. So we had a designer do a bunch of stock graphics for us, like a professional graphic designer. So she did a bunch of holiday ones, but she also did some blank templates. And Haley can do, basic graphic design, and she does a great job. And she's done that on her own. But what she's got is these templates that have like just a clean background and have our WCW logo at the bottom and everything. So what she's been doing is creating kind of her own using that template. And then, she pulls news stories, she writes her own, but yes, it's for designing, implementing, copywriting, and all that.
Would you say that our content schedule so far has been roughly 2 posts per week? That just feels like a lot to me. Which I also feel very supportive of this. I love the idea of somebody else taking it rather than maybe one of the board members that don't have time. I just want to make sure that we're not like, that just feels like a lot of posts when we maybe don't have enough content for 2 a week. But I also don't want to like limit potential of growth. So like if we're posting and from that frequency, we're seeing more followers or more awareness or more looks on the stuff? I don't want to limit it. I'm just wondering about that number.
Yeah, that's a great question. It has been pretty consistently 2 to 3 a week. And it hasn't felt forced, the content. I mean, Jennifer can pipe it up, because we do, like I said, she sends it every week for approval. Between the, Who Is She premieres, the work we're doing, she's doing posts, I'd say every other week or every 3 weeks that are just about the council. Here's what the council is, here's what we do, that kind of thing. So she does a nice mix of like educational posts about what we do, but then also news stories or, and there's enough like equal pay day and this, that, and the other thing. And thank you, Kari. I think she's pulling up the page. I would say the content hasn't felt forced. It felt very like, this is a great example of, I think this one is from the Women Wyoming, I'm sorry, the Who She Is, sorry, group. But yeah, it's felt like a good, and actually I should have gotten my act together and pulled some of the metrics and stuff just to see. But we're obviously the post about Jan, you can see 979 people reach. Look, in a dream world, it would be great if we had, a decent PR chair who was doing this on a regular basis. It's just not happening. And so outsourcing it, and again, like I'm all about if there's a better use of our money that continues to get us being active and putting things out and whatnot, we should do that. But if not, I think that this is a good place to stick our resources to kind of continue to be timely and relevant and things like that.
For sure. Yeah, I definitely see the value. I just want to make sure we're that the social strategy has been considered, and it sounds like it has. So you answered all my questions and thus are the perfect PR chair that there ever was.
So this is not true, but this one is a perfect example of the template I was talking about. Like, so it's already, WCW, and then Haley's able to put in like the call to action, like, whatever it is, please tag inspiring business owners, because it was National Women's Small Business Month, or, it's a great question, because you're right. At first I was like, oh, that might feel forced, but it's really, there's just enough stuff. And that's also part of having a good social media content person, right? Who's like, oh, we should do a call to action, like name all the small business owners, or things like that. So.
Hey, Kristen, this is Belinda. I'm just curious if we got any information on whether or not we've had a lot more interest in our website, or we've had a lot more followers, or however you measure that. I don't really even know how you do that, but I know that, when you have social media, you figure out how good you are by how many people you have following you around, I guess. And so I'm just wondering, we've had a lot more traffic to our website, or, whether it's been, worthwhile as far as the amount of exposure we're getting. That's what I'm asking.
No, and that's a great question. And it looks like Ty is pulling up the insights right now. So we're going to see in real time together. What I probably will do is I can go in and run a report since Haley started, because she's been doing it for 3 months now. And we'll be able to see, I think if you scroll down a little, we might be able to see, or if you go up to see results report, I think you can set up, you can see for a longer period of time. But I would assume the answer is absolutely, just based on what he was scrolling through, and you could see engagement, reach, things like that. I will temper that with, at some point, we might want to have a conversation about putting a little bit of money behind some of these posts if we're going to do this. And by that, I mean, probably next board meeting. It's going to help dramatically to have put a little money behind some of these posts in terms of building likes. And if we're putting good content out there, it's a perfect time to try and do a building likes campaign. And of course, likes are your followers, right? On Facebook, that's the people who follow your page. And you want to get as many as you can. And in at least campaign world, usually if you're running a good campaign, you can get $1 per like, right? Especially if we're trying to target a big audience like people in Wyoming or women in Wyoming or whatever. So great question. Don't have a definite answer, but I can definitely get you one. But like I said, just looking at where Ty was, you could see engagement and reach for each post. If you just go to, you can see how many people were reaching, 1,300 people reached. Is that right? Since the beginning of the month. So yes, I think the answer is yes, but I also don't want to just totally make stuff up.
Something that I can say from being a novice playing with this page is that I have noticed that in general content does get some interest, but I think that also being able to tag individuals in. So like when we announced that Rosie is the woman of distinction, and then people will see that, and then that'll get shared, and then people will come to our page, and then we can invite them to like our page. And really the personal tie-in seems to increase engagement a lot, and that gets more views of what Haley is posting. That's one observation I will make. The other thing is that we've also been sharing things from Workforce Services, from the Wyoming Women's Business Center. I think also from the Women's Foundation. So kind of trying to build those relationships on social media so that people can go to their pages as well if they look at what we're sharing from them. So that's another benefit from doing this. And also I will say that Kristen is very self-deprecating, but she's done a great job of this. We've never been able to do as much social media as we have before Kristen came on board. And also, if we decide that we do not have the money to hire Haley, understand that we're probably going to drop to maybe a couple of posts a month, because unfortunately, Kristen doesn't have the time. I don't have the time. And I don't know that anyone else is jumping on board to take it on. So our social media presence will definitely drop without it. Other questions?
I was going to chime in. You said many of the things I was going to say, Chair, so thank you. I think the only other thing I wanted to add is that, especially knowing we have an award for Rosie, who is very active on Facebook and involved, that having this work happening right now and moving forward, when we do get some engagement around that announcement, which we definitely will, we will have some of that history of things that are on there for people to see and learn about us. And that my guess is this feels expensive, as was previously said, but I think at least for like the next 6 months, I'm really excited about it. And then if it's something we want to revisit in 6 months and look and see where we are with council, where folks are, what our content has been built up, and is there a scaled back version of it for moving forward once we've established a lot of things. But I think it would benefit our outreach and content creation to buckle down and do it, giving some of the things we have coming up and all of the things we've been funding and activities that are out there that we've been able to promote because of it.
Thank you, Natalia. Kari?
Thank you. So I actually was going to bring up something that Natalia actually touched on, which was to just ask that the council be precise in its motion regarding a timeline, and that it not just be $1,000 a month, in perpetuity, unless further action was taken. So that was just going to be my request, that there be a specific time frame for this. And then certainly if the council wants to continue funding after that, then that you can make that choice at that time. But that would be helpful for us at DWS to know if this is through the end of the fiscal year, just for the next few months, for the next calendar year, whatnot.
Thank you both for that. And My recommendation was going to be that we make it either like 3 or 6 months. And possibly maybe, and Kristen, I'm going to turn this over to Kristen in a second, but also maybe look at taking the month of December off, because everyone is so busy with 8 million other things that maybe December is a month that we could just kind of take a break from it and then pick it up in January with the legislative session starting and everything else going on, where we'd have a whole lot that we would need to share. So, Kristen.
Jennifer, I'm thinking maybe we should just do it during the legislative session, you know. Maybe 3 months. That would be my that would be what I think.
Okay, Kristen?
So I do agree we should do it for a set time. I do think I would advise against taking December off, and I would actually propose that we make the contract for 7 months, just until we hit end of next June 30th. So then we're covered through where we've got our final year where we have to consider our budget. The reasoning is twofold. One is I think it's really important as we're building our audience. Part of it is consistency and the fact that we have been going strong for 3 months. I would love it if we could pick back up, end of November. I do think, one, consistency of content, and people are getting used to see it. The other thing is Facebook algorithms. Disclaimer, nobody knows what Facebook's algorithms are or anything like that. It's a big old secret. However, you do get rewarded for regular content posting. And I would hate for us to, see any, this is all about how many eyeballs you get in front of, right? And I would worry about if we just kind of went silent for a month and a half. You do tend to lose points, it feels like, in the algorithm or whatever it is. So my recommendation would be, why don't we make it for a 7-month contract, keep, restart back up as soon as we can, and go through mid-June or the end of June, and then reassess for a full year after, or reassess what we want to do for the last of our fiscal year. Sorry.
Thank you, Kristen. Natalia?
I liked the idea that came up about going to the end of the fiscal year, because that gets us also into our entrepreneur award and the outreach there and through that. And then we'll have a good period of time to see what happened, see if we liked how it helped us, and determine what the longer term strategy is. But I also think I would say, given what happened at the end of the last budget period, where we were spending down funds rapidly, I'm excited that we're talking about spending our funds as we go, and that this will, it has tangible goals connected to it.
Thank you. Katie?
I just wanted to reiterate the not going silent in December. A lot of like marketing firms may want you to think that there's like this crazy busy loud time, but so many people think about that they tend to be really quiet at that time. This is also a time where, like, not during the complete rush and bustle of things, but this is also a time where people are stressed out and they're more likely to like take social media breaks and be looking at their Facebook, and they want to see Christmas happening and Thanksgiving happening and what their friends are posting. And so for this kind of like organic, feel-goody, not super commercialized content, I think people are going to be a little more happy to see it. So I definitely would lead towards not going quiet over Christmas. I also just, from like the little bit of experience that I have with how much like an agency would pay for this kind of work, I do think that the amount maybe sounds a little intense or sounds like a lot, because we're not super used to spending in this fashion, in this total. But when you break it down to the amount of time that she's going to spend, I do feel like it's a super reasonable rate. So I just wanted to throw out there that, like, if we got an agency rather than just like a single person who knows us, knows the voice and all of that, it's a really decent rate from my perspective.
Thank you, Katie. All right, so we can have a motion in a few minutes. Let's go ahead. If there is no other discussion on this, we can talk about the how much we think that the Woman of Distinction Award ceremony will cost us in terms of the different items. So let's see, Kristen, you worked up okay, and the one that I did have in travel for members. Ty put out a poll asking who would be interested in attending. And I believe that Joanne and Kristen said they would be there but not need reimbursement. And Terry and I said that we would be willing to attend also. So there were 4 of us. So we put down travel for members and kind of rounded up to 1,400. So it would be a total of 3,600 for everything. And Kristen's mock-up said, I think, $200 for the award, and I went a little high just in case with shipping and who knows what these days. We might have to get it from Timbuktu. I don't know. So, but you can kind of see where the amounts would be for the different costs. And so we probably need to line that out because mine was different than yours, Kristen. we were frantically trying to get things done this week. So
Well,
Oh, sorry.
No,
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, maybe it might be nice to include in our budget one more person in the event that we do get a new board member appointed that would be able to come, or if someone who hasn't replied yet changes their mind. And then if we don't spend it, that's fine. But to approve one more.
I'm there. I'm in Cheyenne, so I also can come. And I think I missed the email and I apologize. And I obviously would not need any travel reimbursements because my house is there.
Well, and I would say, I'm sorry, Jennifer, true story, I did not look at all the contents of the folder and I didn't see you already did this. I do think we should base this off of your budget. I think that's better to do. As opposed to mine, because I did not include travel expenses. I did, if it's okay, just want to explain the sponsorship, A Leap into Leadership, and why we were proposing that, if that's okay.
Please.
So normally when we have presented these awards, the cost has all come on us to pay for a caterer, an event space, a photographer, all the different things. The last one, we got very lucky because the governor offered to host it at his residence. So we didn't have to pay. I think we had minimal costs, right? We paid for the physical award. Maybe we paid for flowers. I don't even know if we did, but we got off on the cheap. We paid for a photographer, things like that. By having this event at Leap into Leadership, we are also getting off on the cheap because it's already a built-in event. And it actually has a dinner and, hopefully we'll be able to they usually hire a photographer, photos from them, things like that. So I proposed, and I think Jennifer did too, sponsoring Leap into Leadership for a few reasons. One, we're poaching on their event and they're letting us do that, and that's very nice. 2, it's great exposure for the Wyoming Women's Council. They have, as being a sponsor, you get your logo on lots of things. And like I said, it's a widely attended event. 3, you usually get a certain amount of free tickets to go when you're a sponsor. And I'll have to look up exactly what it is. So as opposed to all of our members having to pay for that dinner that night, you usually, and again, I only know this because I used to do the fundraising for it. But you usually I think we'd get 6 or 8 dinners for the cost of our, sponsorship or something like that. So that's a savings for us in terms of members. 8, I think it's the right thing to do because we're poaching on their event. And it's a good, worthwhile event that helps women who want to run for office or be in leadership positions develop their skills. So I know that's a big number, the $1,000. So I just wanted to explain kind of what the reasoning was for people who aren't familiar with the event or what our thought behind sponsor this was.
I feel like we should be supporting that event whether we were giving the award at it or not. And maybe we'll now end up on their list to contact.
Okay, thank you. So my budget versus Kristen's. Kristen, you had said $400 for signage or rack cards. Do we still need that 400? Because we have the rack cards now. I don't know what the signage was.
That's a lie. I don't know. I was in a hurry and I was throwing money on there. I'm sorry.
So we could take that 400 and move it to travel expenses. And if another person decides to join, we could pay for another person to come.
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
I
long
already,
as rack
Jennifer,
cards.
as you recall, I did let you know that I would come if, possible, if that was but in the budget, so.
Right. So we can change that and add it to that. And here's the thing. This is kind of on the high side for an estimate. The $1,000 leap into leadership would certainly be, sponsorship would certainly be $1,000, but some of the others could come in a little bit less than that. And then the money just goes back to the general fund, or not the general fund, our budget goes back to our budget to be used later in the year. So if you take a look at our 3 requests, it would be 3,600 for Leap into Leadership, 5,000 for Women's Foundation wage gap study, and potentially 7,000 for social media. So I think that probably what I would entertain is if there is a motion that someone would like to make a motion on a piece of that, or as a whole, we can then address the motion.
I would move to approve all 3.
Okay,
Oh,
Natalia moved to approve and Kristen seconded. Other discussion?
Madam Chair,
Yes,
can I just confirm that on the Prosper request that is through the end of the fiscal year?
yes. Natalie,
which-
I've spoken for you. That was what your motion was, correct?
Yes, through the end of the fiscal year, 7 months, whichever is less or greater.
Starting December 1.
Perfect. Starting December 1st through the end of the fiscal year for 7 months.
All right. Other discussion? And this can be about the budget in general. Also, I would like to throw in there that we had talked about having an in-person meeting in conjunction with the Woman of Distinction Award. And Ty and I were talking about it and decided that probably a virtual meeting, either he sent out 3 dates, but instead let's just do a virtual meeting separate from the event. People who can go to the event, awesome, great. We'll be happy to see you, but we'll do the virtual meeting either I think it was the end of February, the beginning of March for our next quarterly meeting. But to save money that way, instead of having an in-person meeting, we'll just do the virtual. So that was kind of a cost-saving measure on that. All right. If there is no other discussion on this, we can go ahead and move to a vote. So all those in favor of approving the motion that Natalia made to fund 7 months through the end of the fiscal year to hire Prosper public relations for social media posts, $5,000 for the Wyoming Women's Foundation wage gap study, and $3,600 for the Woman of Distinction Award. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed. All right, so the motion does pass and we have our new business concluded. So if we are cooking towards 7:30, we're going to make it. Information good of the order. The first thing is that if you have not filled out Ty's survey on the February meeting, please do so that we can pick that and get it on everyone's calendar. All right, Kari.
Just wanted to say that I attended the Louisa Swain Federal Office Building naming ceremony. As part of the Cheyenne League of Women Voters, they asked us to show up in our suffragette outfits and hand out Louisa Swain coins. And it went very well. During the ceremony, Mary Mountain did mention the Women's Council and the Sip and Savor events going on over in Laramie, so that was excellent. And the government service, the GSA government service agency person that was there mentioned that not only was this the first federal office building in Wyoming to have a woman's name on it, but it's actually the first in our GSA region, which includes Colorado, Montana, Utah, South Dakota, and North Dakota. So another good first for Louisa Swain.
Thank you for that information, Kari. So you were there dressed up?
Oh yes, I'm in the pictures that like Haley posted. I'm one of the suffragettes. We were wearing our fancy hats that Karen Meister Emmerich and Raj Schlitsky made for the 150 anniversary celebrations. And
She looked very cute.
And then I
I'm
wore
gonna have
that
to go back and
costume on
look.
Monday for Halloween to the office. And I was the only member of the executive team that dressed up.
Good for you. Way to
That's right.
represent. All right. Any other comments for public information? Go to the order. Kristen.
Okay, now that we just spent all that money, I feel like I'm Kristen, let's spend money Walker today. We're just kicking it all out. Okay, so Ty, do you circle back with Haley and to execute the contract, or Kari, or how do we move forward?
Yes, and Madam Chair, I can take the lead on getting that taken care of.
Perfect. And then
Thank
how
you.
about the Wyoming Women's Legislative Caucus? Do you want me to email them and copy you, Jennifer, and then ask for like an invoice or something? I mean, they're a 501c. I should know this, 501c3. But what's the best way to do that one?
I'd be happy to be copied on it if you want to start that out. Yes.
Okay,
But
the
The fiscal part of it, I'll leave to Ty.
perfect. Okay, I didn't know if we
Because
needed them or what, Ty.
Ty enjoys fiscal so much.
Natalie.
All right. Natalie.
I'm sorry if you said this at the beginning and it evacuated my brain, but I just wanted to, did you ask if anyone wants to be treasurer for them to contact you?
Yes. Also entrepreneur task force chair. So. All right. Anything else? Thank you so much for being here tonight, and check your emails. Some more information will be coming soon with I'm sure things from the wage gap study with that, and also with information about the Woman of Distinction. And so I'm looking forward to us being able to finally announce that on our Facebook page and in PR. So that's pretty exciting. So thank you all for being here. And if any of you are going to be at the Governor's Business Forum next week, I will look for you to say hi. All right, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All right. It has been moved and seconded, and so we are adjourned. Thank you so much for your time.
Yes.
Yay. Oh, yes.
There she is. Yeah.
Yes, I would not have recognized you with the hat, but it's very nice.
I waited for the adjournment. I didn't want this to be official business.
I love it.
Very
It's
nice.
awesome.
Recording.
It's awesome. The next time we have a women's council meeting with a large portion of members in Cheyenne, we should go visit and take a photo also at the Louisa Swain.
Oh, good point. We definitely should.
Yeah, and Michael Broad with the U.S. Department of Labor is in that building, and so if we give her a heads up, then she would probably get us into, and you guys could probably go inside the building as well, and yeah, see some, because the floor she's on has all the historical pictures of like when they did when the building was being constructed and all of those things. That was in the 30s, and it's a William Dubois was the architect, so it's another one of those Cheyenne buildings. But yeah.
All right, that's awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Roxy, I'll be in touch so we can kind of maybe touch base and have a phone call and just kind of, I can give you a little bit more background for everything we've been doing tonight.
Okay, sounds great. Thank you.
All right. All right. Thank you all.